Hello YouTubers, welcome to Shootwise. Today we're going to talk about kind of a rare bird, Armalite AR 17 12 gauge shotgun. It's a 2-shot 12 gauge shotgun chambered for 2 3/4 inch shells. It is very light. It was made for the purposes of shooting clays or perhaps upland bird hunting. They made parts for 2,000 of these in 64 and 65. All the sources say only 1,200 of them were assembled. This serial number is in the 1320, so I really think that there were a little bit more than 1,200 of them assembled. It's an interesting shotgun, and we'll dive into it and take it apart. To load this shotgun, it's a little bit interesting. It took me a little while to figure it out. It's a controlled feed system, I believe. So I think the best thing to do is always to load from the bottom. These are dummy shells, by the way. Please don't load live ammo inside. Then the second round is held in place just like this. You can see just like this. When you shoot it, it ejects, feeds the next round. It has no magazine tube in it. It is a 2-shot shotgun. 2 shots is all you get. That's all you need for the clays game. You're going to find a couple of videos. Ian from Forgotten Weapons did one. There's another one online where they partially disassemble the AR-17. I've got a very crude one where I kind of take it apart. But we're going to start with stuff that's already out there. You unscrew this end cap right here. You take off this fore end. This fore end fits on this extension, and it is splined to match the extension. We take this extension off right here. This extension is threaded the same on both ends. It doesn't matter which end goes onto the shotgun and which end goes forward. In order to release the barrel, just like an AR-15, it has a rotating bolt and a barrel extension. So you have to pull the bolt to the rear a little bit so the bolt will rotate. This is the lug that holds it on. This is the barrel extension. A common question I get is, does this barrel have a steel liner? And the answer is no. This barrel extension goes into this aluminum barrel about as far as the forcing cone, and that is it. This is pure aluminum after that. This is a very light barrel. I need to remove this detent right here. Or, not remove it, but remove the charging handle. When you do that, push in that detent. The charging handle comes right out. That frees up the bolt carrier group with the buffer and the buffer spring. Very similar to AR-15. This little part right here is the ejector. It fits neatly right in here in the bolt carrier group. And that's what ejects your shells. Much the same way the bolt carrier group on your AR-15 is assembled. To take it apart, the first thing I need to do is remove this pin right here. This pin is the exact same thing as the cotter key on your AR-15 bolt, except in this case it's a steel pin. That steel pin holds in this firing pin, and that takes out the firing pin. Just like on your AR-15 bolt, once you have the firing pin out, then you can remove the cam. This is the cam that the bolt cams on inside the bolt carrier group. This is the bolt itself. These are the 2 extractors, and the ejector rides right next to this extractor in the bolt carrier group. So the next thing we're going to take apart is we're going to take apart this lifter assembly right here. There is no magazine tube on this shotgun. It's a 2-shot shotgun, one in the chamber, one in the lifter, and we're going to take out the trigger group. In order to do that, take a punch. This pin comes out fairly easily. When you do this, make sure you hold on to this lifter assembly right here. Lift out the trigger group. There's the trigger group right there. The reason you need to hold on to this lifter assembly is because there's an angry little spring right here that'll go flying if you don't. To reassemble the bolt carrier group, first thing we have to do, I guess we're going to put the bolt in. This is the inside extractor. You got to remember that this ejector groove needs to line up with the groove in the bolt carrier group, like this. That's how the ejector works. So now we can put the cam pin back in. Pull the bolt forward. Put the firing pin and spring in. Hold it with your thumb. That captures the firing pin. We're going to put the bolt carrier group in. Bolt carrier group has a buffer spring and a buffer, very similar to your AR-15. Slide it into the receiver. Line that spring up with the buffer tube. When you're inserting this, the bolt must be all the way forward in the bolt carrier group. If you push on the bolt, you'll rotate the bolt and it won't go in. Push it to the rear, it will catch on the last shot, hold open, catch right in there. Once you have the bolt in, then the next thing you need to do is you need to assemble the trigger group and the lifter assembly. When you put in the lifter assembly, the first step is to put in this detent and spring. This detent works on the lifter assembly right here. There's quite a bit of tension, and it is not the easiest thing in the world to get in. Once you have that spring and detent in its place, then you put in the lifter assembly, replace your thumb with that lifter, and hold that thing in place just like this. When you put in the trigger assembly, there's a tab on the rear of the trigger assembly that goes into a slot in the back of the receiver. That end goes in first. It lines up with the pinhole. And once we get everything lined up just right, it will go in fairly easily. There you go. Once you have the bolt carrier group, the trigger group, and the lifter assembly in place, the next thing you need to do is to put the barrel on. This barrel is a snug fit. It fits right over that lug right there. The barrel lug fits right over this post right here. Take this aluminum extension right here, the splined extension. It's threaded on both ends, doesn't matter which end you screw on, and you do not need to screw this on tight. Next thing we need to do is we need to let the bolt come forward. We're going to pull forward on this lifter assembly, push on the bolt face, and just let her go. May need to remove the barrel just a little bit until this lines up with the corresponding groove in the frame. Once you have this lined up with this corresponding notch in the frame, then your charging handle will pivot back in place. Of course, the knurled end goes forward. You tilt it in, and there it is, it's in. Did the charging handle here, I tightened up the spline a little bit. Got the barrel in there. This spline does not need to be super tight. This spline is held in place by corresponding spline grooves in the fore end. So we're going to slip this over, matching up those splines, and it goes just in like that. If you tighten up that barrel, that extension tight, you'll never get those to match up. Next thing to do is just do everything in reverse. Fasten the fore end on with this thumb screw right here. Now the only thing we really haven't gone over is the buttstock. In order to take this buttstock off, this recoil pad just snaps off. It's held on right there. We're not going to take this off today. There's really not much to see here. There is a little steel bushing right here to spread the load over on this nylon stock. Take out one flathead screw right there. That is an aluminum screw, by the way. And you will expose the buffer tube. There's not much to see there. It's just a plain steel buffer tube. In conclusion, this Armalite shotgun right here is very light. It weighs in, I would say, between 4 and 5 pounds. I have not weighed it to get the exact weight, but it is light for a 12 gauge shotgun. People say online that this thing will pound you and beat you to death because it is so light. That is not my experience. Much in the same way that an AR-15, the buffer assembly, absorbs the recoil, I found that the short recoil action of this shotgun combined with the buffer assembly soaks up most of the recoil. This thing is not too bad to shoot at all. Another complaint about this shotgun is because it is so light, it does not point well. This is true. This is absolutely true. I've tried to hit clay pigeons with this. I am not an expert at shooting at clay pigeons. Notice I say shooting at them. I can't hit a clay pigeon with this thing. I can barely hit the berm with this thing at 25 yards. It does not shoulder well for me with this Monte Carlo stock. When I bring it up, I want to shoot it like a rifle instead of like a shotgun. I think it does not fit me well at all. It might fit somebody else better. It has neutral cast. It has absolutely no cast on or cast off. And a Monte Carlo stock on a shotgun just doesn't fit me well at all.